does, doesn't it? Top button or no? No, that's too.
No, not top button.
Definitely not.
Hi, my name is Grace and I'm a registered nutritionist, health coach at Second Nature. I'm also working in the management team to oversee all of our health coaches to make sure that they deliver the best quality service to all of our members. I've been at Second Nature for 6 years and absolutely love what I do.
Hi, I'm Robbie. I'm a registered nutritionist and I'm also the content lead here at Second Nature. So I do a lot of research and writing, producing content for the in-app program that our members are on, articles for our website, also support the marketing team. And yeah, been here 7 years and love the company, love supporting our members. And yeah, it's just a great place to work. All right, Grace, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. It'd be great if you could start with a bit of background, a bit about you, your journey to Second Nature, your education and what you do here. That'd be great.
Of course, yeah. Well, firstly, I'm a registered nutritionist. So I started as a nutritionist probably about 10 years ago, did a degree in sports science and then master's in nutrition. And yeah, I've been working in this field for 10 years now since, specifically at Second Nature for about 6 years. So my role is at the moment focused on management. So I mainly manage the team of health coaches. So I started as a health coach, worked my way up and now manage the team, overseeing the training and development and just making sure that we're delivering the best quality service that we can to our members. So yeah, I guess my background is more in behaviour change. So I have quite a lot of knowledge in terms of the psychology of why we behave the way we do, why we eat the way we do. That's always been my passion, looking more into the why behind the what. So that's where a lot of my learning and developments come from. And yeah, I try to implement that as much as I can into our training and development and yeah, supporting the health coaches.
If we could go back a little bit, what sparked your initial interest in nutrition and when you wanted to do that degree the first time around?
Yeah, I've always had an interest in nutrition, like personally. And I've always been really... I always knew I wanted to go into helping people. That's always been my sort of nature to want to help people. So I guess I was looking for a career that helped me combine that love for nutrition and health and looking at, you know, how we can be the best that we can possibly be and then help others also do the same. So it's like a personal interest, but then also a career passion to help people as much as I can. So.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. And when you said like helping people there, what are your main roles as a nutritionist at Second Nature in helping our members?
I think there's a couple of angles you can take it. Firstly, helping people know what to eat and sort of give advice on nutrition. There's obviously so much out there in the way of nutrition information. And I think breaking a lot of that down into simple, digestible information is one thing. But the other angle that I like to take is to challenge people's mindsets towards food. So building people's relationships with food, helping them see that food isn't the thing to fear. It's the thing to find passion in and I guess learn to love food in a healthy way and make it sustainable so that it's not just, you know, I'm cutting out all the foods that I love. It's like, how can I incorporate having the foods that I enjoy in moderation in a healthy, balanced diet?
You mentioned fear around food, and is that something you see a lot with people who join our program? They're actually afraid of food?
Yes, I think it's a real mindset thing. I think that's what the diet culture has always told us, that food is to be feared and that, you know, we have to eliminate all of our favourite foods. It's almost like people don't trust themselves around those foods. And I see a lot of that's been built from childhood, but also like from what people have taught them. And it's the thing that I like to try and focus on first, because if you can change that perception and learn to love food, a lot of the other habits fall into place beyond that. So I think, because otherwise you're constantly trying to battle this thing of I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm also really trying to avoid those foods. And there's only so long that you can do that before eventually that's going to, you know, the sort of elastic band is going to snap and you're going to go and want to eat all of those foods in sight. Whereas removing it from the pedestal, removing the sort of fear around that food and working on how you can incorporate that mindfully is, yeah, it's the best approach in my opinion.
So you're focusing on it rather than trying to change what they're doing within the current mindset.
Yeah.
It's better to change that first.
Yeah.
Because then ultimately that's going to be more sustainable.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And what is it about, you've spoken a lot about mindset shifts and building a positive relationship with food. What is it about Second Nature's approach that is unique, say, to other diet programs or anything like that?
I think we focus on the why we empower people to know that that is why we do things. It helps to take the pressure off thinking that it's all our fault. I think that's another thing that comes up with this, is that people come in thinking that willpower is to blame and that, oh, it's my fault that I can't control myself around those foods. And Second Nature does really well at educating people on why that is, why you might find it hard to control yourself around foods. It's looking beyond just the what and actually getting deeper into why we do things. And I don't think a lot of other diets do that. I feel that's the mindset thing that people miss in other diets.
That makes sense. And I guess it's reaffirmed by the diet culture, right? So people believing that they're failing, it's down to willpower. They're actually conditioned to believe that in other approaches, right? And then everything in the food environment, the diet environment, the weight loss industry promotes that it's your fault and it's willpower. So what are the first things you kind of do when you work with people in the first few weeks? How do you actually help them make that shift? What tools do we share with them to help in that sense?
We've got a lot of resources. We have daily articles that have digestible information that will help them, understand and I guess help them relate to a lot of this. I think the first step in this is identity. So it's identifying when those sort of thoughts and those habits are coming up for people. Because a lot of the time people aren't even aware of what habits they have. So the first few weeks is really about that awareness and building that consciousness of, okay, this is what I do day to day. These are the habits that I have. This might be why it's happening. And the minute you can identify and become aware of that, it then really helps to put plans into place to change. It's a lot about sort of self-discovery in that first few weeks.
That makes sense. Self-discovery. I like that. So you're kind of saying, rather than in week one we say do all of this to change, it's find your baseline, like understand the why, and then you can like move forward from there. That makes a lot of sense. And what do you think is the most common misconception that people have about diet, health, weight loss when they join Second Nature, in your experience?
I think that it's all down to willpower is a big one. I've mentioned that, but people think that if they can just use willpower to stop themselves from eating the chocolate bar or sort of going for a takeaway over a healthy meal. And often there's so many psychological, physiological things that are happening inside people that mean that willpower, no matter how much you have of it, it's not going to be enough to avoid those cravings. I think there's a lot of blame that people place on themselves because of that, and I don't think that's necessarily true.
And how do people respond to you when you tell them it's actually not to do with willpower?
You get a lot of relief from people. I think that's often the light bulb moment for people. They can sort of go, oh my gosh, it's not my fault. And that can be so empowering for people. And it can cause a sense of, okay, this is easier now. I don't need to blame myself. I have the tools. I have the knowledge. I feel like knowledge is power, especially when it comes to the why. Because it just means they can then put more sustainable plans in place. They have the knowledge to know if they do slip up, oh, that's probably why, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be a blame situation. It can just be, that's really interesting. That's made me curious about why I've done that. That's okay, and it sort of removes that personal responsibility.
So in your experience, Grace, what do you think are the main reasons that diets are destined to fail?
Diets are designed to fail because they're unsustainable. I think they are equipped with rules about what you should and shouldn't eat. And a lot of those rules are very restrictive. It is cutting out a lot of food groups and ultimately not fully balanced. I think, it's teaching people that there's one way to do something. We're all so different. We're different. We've got different needs as people, as genders. And a lot of these rules mean that people are having to follow a diet that is just not sustainable for them. And then they inevitably fail and then feel bad. And then it's this vicious cycle, I think.
Makes sense, makes sense. And it's almost like embedded into the business model of a lot of companies because they want the repeat business, right?
Absolutely.
Because people think, we have people
Yeah.
that join all the time that say, oh, it worked for the first 12 weeks, so I'm
Yeah.
going to go back
Yeah.
because I lost loads of weight.
Yeah.
But they forget about the part they regained it
Yeah.
and they just go through that vicious cycle.
Yeah, and I think people are chasing the short-term fix. So people are latching on to the fact that they lost weight initially because that's what they want to see and that's what they're taught to see. And I guess diet society has told us that, short-term results are really great and that's what is going to drive sort of people coming back. But ultimately, the longer and slower that you can do it, the more sustainable it is long-term, which isn't always sexy to people. People don't always want to hear that, but I always like to ask my members, do you want to lose weight quickly or forever? And I guess that's quite a good sort of mindset shift to think, okay, it may take me a little bit longer, but if I can keep it off forever, ultimately that's the goal, right? And a lot of people don't think that long term because diets are telling them you're going to lose X amount of pounds in a week. And you know, that's obviously very sexy. That's what they want to see. So...
That's interesting. What did you say there? You said, do you want to lose weight quickly or forever? How do people respond typically when you ask that question?
Forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can argue that. Like, there might be some situations where people just want to lose quickly and they don't really mind what happens after. But most people who are serious about wanting to lose weight want to lose it long term.
Yeah.
I guess they just aren't taught how to do that through diets.
Absolutely. Well, they're conditioned to believe that short-term fix, like you said, is what you're after, right?
Yeah.
And there's no sexy headlines in
No.
lose weight sustainably over the next 12 to 14
that
months.
doesn't sell, right?
Versus, 7 pounds in 7 days, that kind of thing. Makes sense. And why do you think a holistic approach to weight loss is important?
People think that weight loss is just about eating less and moving more, but I think it encompasses your whole lifestyle. So it's to do with how well you sleep, what your stress levels are like, how much exercise you're doing, sort of what your daily movement is, not just exercise, but like how much you move, and then also how much you eat and what you eat. So I think it's all of those pillars of health that really kind of come together to support weight loss for the long term. And I think it's so important to address that. And that's why at Second Nature, we do address all of those pillars of health because it's not just, eating less and moving more. I've had so many members that come to me and say, I've been eating a really healthy, balanced diet and, I'm doing all of this. I'm eating less than I ever was, but I'm still not losing weight. And then when we actually dig deeper and look at how you're sleeping, they're sleeping 5 hours a night, their stress levels are through the roof. And that is what's preventing them from losing weight. And actually, if we address that, they then do start to lose weight. And I think that's just a real kind of evidence of the fact that it's so much more than just what we eat and how much.
Absolutely. And there's probably really common examples of people where they focus on the 3 meals a day, let's say. We recommend that, right? Like 3 balanced meals a day. And they're probably nailing that. And they're like, I've got to have my breakfast, lunch and dinner. But then they're forgetting that, it might come to the evening and they're really stressed after work and they open up a bottle of wine while they're cooking dinner. Yeah. But that doesn't really register because of the stress maybe or because of the focus on the hypervigilance around being, so to speak, good, right? Yeah, that's so true. And what does sustainable weight loss look like in that sense?
For me, sustainable weight loss is when you are living your best life, not thinking about things. That for me is sustainable. Like if you are just building habits that you don't even think about, that you are just like doing naturally and you're feeling good for it, that for me is sustainable weight loss. So it may take a little bit of time initially to get there, but if you're then at that point where you just live your life and you can engage in those habits without thinking, that's sustainable. The minute a habit is too hard to stick to long term, beyond the initial sort of 3 weeks of trying to keep a habit up, that's not sustainable for me.
Exactly. Like people dragging themselves to the gym despite hating it.
Yes.
Rather than thinking, what's an enjoyable form of activity that I can do, whatever that looks like, dance classes or whatever, right? Yeah.
And sustainable weight loss looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's something that people neglect and what diets don't tell us, that, people can take different approaches and still achieve really great results. And I think that's why Second Nature works well, because we work to personalize a lot of that. Yes, we have some guidelines, and we have a nutrition ethos that we follow, but ultimately it's about the health coach working with that member to provide more personalized support of like, okay, what habit feels realistic for you? And I think a health coach is almost like having your therapist, your nutritionist, and your GP all in one, because they're able to encompass all of that into their personalised support.
And you talk about sustainability there and how important it is to, you mentioned before about wanting to lose weight forever versus losing weight quickly. And there's a concept that's been introduced in the last couple of years called like your best weight, because obviously we're a bit obsessed with BMI, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our members, whether it's from their GP or their nurse or their like healthcare assistant at their GP practice, will say you need to get to a healthy BMI. But actually, I think BMI is quite a constrained view of a limited view of health, right? So could you expand on like maybe the concept of an individual best weight and what that might look like for people, and how they might be able to achieve that?
Yeah, I think it kind of ties in with what I was mentioning about a sustainable weight loss rate. So when you're at that point where you are eating well, you're feeling healthy, you're feeling good in yourself, and your kind of weight is staying stable, but you are having the healthy habits that you've kind of set out to achieve, that likely is your best weight. It might be slightly higher than the BMI threshold, like you've said, but if ultimately you feel like you have energy, you've got, you're able to keep up with the habits, you're feeling the best that you've felt, or that the best that you can feel, then that likely is your best weight, where you're not shifting around too much.
That makes sense. And have you seen like the other side of that, where maybe someone's reached their weight loss goal, but they actually feel a bit unsatisfied, maybe because of the approach they're taking, maybe because of their mindset, for whatever it is, but for some reason they might say to you, Grace, like, I've hit my weight loss goal, but I feel a bit empty. Have you ever seen that as well?
Yeah, I think that's where people place too much focus on the number on the scales and lose sight of all of the other non-scale victories that they will likely be feeling. We do see that quite a lot, because again, the diet culture has told us that the number on the scale is everything, and that's what matters the most. But ultimately, if you're building a life that feels good for you, that makes you feel like you've got energy, that you can see your social friends, that's another thing. It's that sort of social element. People feel that they have to give that up to lose weight, because everything tells us that socializing is unhealthy, and and yes, there are probably challenges or situations that are more challenging, but ultimately we want to be able to enjoy socializing. If you've achieved your weight loss, but you're not seeing your friends, you've not got connection around you, then that's probably not where you want to be as a weight.
And we've talked a lot about our ethos and our approach, but from a practical point of view, what can people expect in the first month at Second Nature?
You can expect a lot of guidance and support, especially in those first few weeks. Health coaches are there to really kind of guide you through those initial challenging weeks. As I said, habits can take 3-4 weeks to form, if not longer. And so it's going to feel difficult potentially in the beginning, especially as you're trying to figure out what habits work for you and how you can make changes. But your health coaches will be there to guide you through it. You can expect a lot of knowledge and information about an education around habits and nutrition and lifestyle choices. We'll give you some guidance on what to eat as well. I feel like I've talked a lot about the why, but we do have a lot of guidance on what we encourage you to eat as a healthy, balanced diet. So there'll be a lot of that in the first few weeks. But yeah, your health coaches will be there to support you and guide you through the journey.
Brilliant. Amazing. And what's something you wish more people understood about health and weight loss?
I wish people understood more about the physiology of why we crave things, and the physiology of like hunger and fullness levels, because I think over the years people have neglected their body as a tool of managing their sort of meal sizes, their portion sizes. People rely so heavily on external things to guide their portion sizes. But actually, if we just trust in ourselves a little bit more, most of the time that will give us the information that we need about how much we need to eat.
Makes perfect sense. So if someone's having a bowl of Cheerios for breakfast, for example, and feeling hungry like half an hour later and not understanding why, if everyone just understood the different impacts of food on their body.
Yeah, the other thing that I would love more people to recognise is that choosing weight loss out of self-hate is never going to be as successful as choosing weight loss out of self-love. If you take more of like a positive approach to weight loss, you're doing this to better yourself, to become the best version of yourself in a positive way, versus I'm losing weight because I don't like myself. That often is never going to be as positive.
Interesting.
Or as successful.
Interesting. So it's connecting weight loss to your values, right? So it's like, I want to lose weight because I value my health. And Grace, one final question from me. What is your favourite thing about working for Second Nature?
My favourite thing about working for Second Nature is getting to help people every single day become the best versions of themselves. I feel like when we see the success stories and the people that do really well, and not just the people that sort of do well from the beginning, but people that really maybe struggle initially, that actually overcome so many challenges, that it, for me, is just the best thing about working for Second Nature and working for this company.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice. Good job, Grace.